Ted Cruz figures out a way to guzzle new Bud Light headlines. 1 of 10. Ted Cruz's unusual skills as a politician is his ability to form fit culture war fights into the vernacular and processes of government. Perhaps it's a function of the Texas Republicans' college-era debate experience, one of the central elements of his biography. After all, those contests were mostly exercises in recasting the virulent subjects of the day into formalized presentations. What's the difference between that and plucking a snippet from Fox News before turning it into something that could appear in the congressional record? A good example of this emerged in the wake of the 2020 election. President Donald Trump was pressuring his allies to join him in calling the election results fraudulent. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, RK, was actively trying to keep his caucus from a seating. Cruz, pulled between Trump and McConnell, finally came out with a proposal. What if a congressional committee could audit the election results before the electoral votes were counted? He could go on Fox News and talk about fighting fraud and get attaboys from Trump, but do it in the guise of simply wanting to procedurally address unprecedented allegations of voter fraud. Allegations stemming from Trump, of course. This week, Cruz offered an even better example of how he fits political fights into senatorial robes. Sign up for How to Read This Chart, a weekly data newsletter from Philip Bump. Nearly 2 months ago, trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney posted a short video on Instagram in which she fawned over a few cans of Bud Light bearing her image. It was part of a promotion for the beer company. The post was hashtagged Bud Light Partner and promoted a Bud Light giveaway. Measured by the amount of attention the promotion generated, Bud Light hit a home run. But unfortunately for the brand and its parent company Anheuser-Busch, the vast majority of this attention was very much not positive. The promotion landed at a moment when the political right was particularly keen on using trans people and issues as a target of outrage, and company executives appear to have underappreciated the extent to which their consumer base was made up of members of the political right. In an interview published earlier this year, Alyssa Heinerscheid, Bud Light's vice president of marketing, noted that Bud Light had been kind of a brand of, she paused, thinking of the proper word, fratty, kind of out-of-touch humor. That isn't really the right word. Fratty implies young, but Heinerscheid herself, at another point in the interview, noted that if we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light. What do you get if you combine the ostentatiously, defensively, machismo-laden vibe of the beer but realize it's for a significantly older audience? You get a lot of Donald Trump voters. The right-wing media recognized this very quickly. Bud Light has been mentioned more than 600 times on Fox News so far this year compared to about 100 times on Shen and Miss Macy combined. Mulvaney has been mentioned nearly 200 times on Fox. Cruz obviously took note. On Wednesday, he and son, Marsha Blackburn, R10, herself no stranger to surfing the outrage waves, sent a letter to the CEO of Anheuser-Busch. It took a month and a half, but Cruz finally figured out a way to compress the culture war fury that a beer conservatives liked to drink didn't treat transgender people as gross or non-existent into the constraints of appropriate legislative consideration. Well, it turns out that the CEO of Anheuser-Busch is also the head of the Beer Institute, which polices how companies market. And this cracked open a door. We write to ask that the Beer Institute's Code Compliance Review Board open an investigation to review Anheuser-Busch's recent and ongoing marketing partnership with Dylan Mulvaney. The letter read, "The Beer Institute must examine whether your company violated the Beer Institute's advertising/marketing code and buying guidelines prohibiting marketing to individuals younger than the legal drinking age." That's the argument. Mulvaney, whom the letter consistently misgenders naturally, is an influencer with a young audience. By partnering with Bud Light, the company was, per Cruz and Blackburn, trying to prime kids for alcohol consumption, in keeping with Heinerscheid's idea that the brand needed to appeal to young drinkers. The infamous Joe Camel campaign was, of course, mentioned. It's a slightly less toxic version of the groomers rhetoric that is so popular on the right, suggesting that kids are intentionally being set up for something nefarious. In the letter, Cruz and Blackburn bolster their claims about the presumed age of Mulvaney's audience with some truly misleading, if not misinformed, argumentation. That Mulvaney is known for documenting her transition in a series called Days of Girlhood is cited as though the name means that it is intended for children. One hopes that Cruz didn't take his own young daughters to see the 2017 film Girls Trip in theaters due to a misapprehension about who the film was depicting. That's the argument. Mulvaney, whom the letter consistently misgenders, naturally is an influencer with a young audience. By partnering with Bud Light, the company was, per Cruz and Blackburn, trying to prime kids for alcohol consumption, in keeping with Heinerscheid's idea that the brand needed to appeal to young drinkers. The infamous Joe Camel campaign was, of course, mentioned. It's a slightly less toxic version of the groomer's rhetoric that is so popular on the right, suggesting that kids are intentionally being set up for something nefarious. In the letter, Cruz and Blackburn bolster their claims about the presumed age of Mulvaney's audience with some truly misleading, if not misinformed, argumentation. That Mulvaney is known for documenting her transition in a series called Days of Girlhood is cited as though the name means that it is intended for children. One hopes that Cruz didn't take his own young daughters to see the 2017 film Girls Trip in theaters due to a misapprehension about who the film was depicting. In 2021, the Pew Research Center found that 71% of 18 to 29-year-olds use Instagram, as do 48% of those aged 30 to 49. Smaller percentages of people 50 and over do too, but even among those of retirement age, 1 in 8 report using Instagram. Most of those retirees are admittedly probably not Dylan Mulvaney fans. But here's a little back-of-the-envelope math. Instagram allows users to sign up if they are age 13 or older. If we apply Pew's usage percentages to the number of people in each age range in America and assume, probably erroneously, that usage is even throughout the 18 to 29 age range, only 24% of the total Instagram audience is under the legal drinking age if every 13 to 17-year-old in America is on Instagram. In that scenario, 76% could be expected to be adults of drinking age. Mulvaney and her team did make one apparent mistake. Instagram's rules mandate that branded content promoting alcohol be age-gated so that those under 21 can't view it. I set up a new account for someone age 16, and the content was visible both when linked directly and on Mulvaney's page. But, of course, none of this is really about Bud Light marketing to kids. That's just the vehicle that Cruz finally settled on as a way to leverage his elected power to get headlines in the culture war fight over transgender visibility in America.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.